You've been a bad kid at Christmas. You've got coal in your computer.
Hello everybody and welcome back to What the Tech. This is...
What the Tech?
What a brilliant name.
We finally figured out what to call this bastard thing. Yay!
This is the third episode of the Connect 2 Tech podcast, which we have decided to call What the Tech because we talk about whatever the tech we want.
Yeah. It's a mishmash.
Yeah,
honestly.
But we're going to try and generally look at the latest gaming news and some tech-related stories that have happened in our lives in the past sort of week or years, depending on what we're talking about.
Just ramble inanely about things that happened over the last several thousand million years.
Pretty much, maybe. But it should be fun to listen along.
We promise we won't get as I promise I won't get as cross as I did last episode.
We're not just going to shout at Intel for 45 minutes.
Oh, and just to contradict myself a little bit, Intel aren't all terrible. They're just mostly terrible.
And that's
my current stance.
We should just replace the whole of last week's podcast with that statement.
I think that is... Oh, crap, we just summarised it in a sentence. Oh, no.
Well, if you haven't listened to the second one, you may as well have just listened to that sentence.
Yeah. Oh,
although, if you want to go back, maybe I'll remember to put a link on here. We talked about how Intel have been changing their chipset architecture constantly since the release of their more modern CPUs, meaning that you've had to buy a motherboard for basically every new generation of processor, but we're not going to go into it again now. So go and click there if you want to listen to more about that.
Don't set me back off.
If that's interested you, yeah, exactly. Okay, but today we were just discussing actually, and I'll probably cut some clips in here.
Just before we started.
Yeah, about the components that we've managed to purchase in the past from a number of different methods where we've been particularly good bargains.
Today we're sort of looking at more of a overview of PC building in the United Kingdom, England, because it is more difficult than in America. Because
it is, and a lot of channels cover America, here. But not where we live in the UK.
Yeah, they're either American or Canadian or not North. Like they're American, Canadian, or they're Southern. So PC building in the North, is it just all old bits of railway locomotive and hats? Because that's what we used to make up here. And coal. Just a big chunk of coal in your computer.
And that is the summary of this week's podcast.
Yep.
I can put
coal
that,
in your computer.
That at the start.
You've been a bad kid at Christmas. You've got coal in your computer.
Pretty much. So we're gonna talk about the used market in the UK and how to basically get started into PC building for as little money as possible, because as we're both students, we don't like to spend money.
Yeah.
We were just talking before we recorded about how fun it is when your student finance messes up.
Oh god, I will not go on a rant about that. That's a
that can be another
issue,
time.
Oh,
we'll have to find a way to make it techie.
Broken. Well, today on my test bench, I've been running the GTX 480, as some people probably already know in the techie space. Is essentially a space heater that also outputs an image. Sometimes.
Just as a side effect of the heating.
Yes, it's just like it heats your room and then occasionally plays a video game. It's different from Nvidia's usual thing of making a thing that produces an image that may also slightly heat your room. It's like they mixed it up with the 400 series. They really changed the paradigm on logic and wisdom and
they just flipped its abilities. I think that today on my test bench should be a segment for each podcast for you.
For me, yeah.
We can play some sort of dreamy music and just, today on Richard's test bench.
Oh god, it would be very different every time. It's like, today I'm running a potato I've glued to one of the USB ports and forced to produce an image.
It's like that science experiment that you do where you get a potato to produce electricity, except you've managed to make it a graphics processor.
Yeah, I just forced...
That's the next step.
I bought one of those grid array chips off of the internet, that they solder onto laptops, and just rammed it into the side of the potato two like crocodile clips just mashed into the sides, and then it's just clipped onto a PCIe lane,
That sounds
and then
like
there's just a
Techsperiment
VGA port
video.
sticking out the back. That could be the thumbnail for Techsperiment.
Yeah.
It's just a motherboard with a potato on top of it.
Well, does either of us have a dead motherboard at this current moment?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I have
you've
that
got one,
blown
haven't
up Asus 775 socket.
There you go. So we can use that one and not worry about getting.
I might try and
potato.
carve a 775 socket CPU out of potato. I think I have too much time on my hands. I think I may actually have too much time on my hands. But yeah.
Yes. So
So
here Harry in the future can put all the stuff that we were just saying earlier.
everything's
Yes.
on fire. This whole room is on fire. It's the 480's fault. I'm melting. I'm actually starting to burn. No.
Well, did you get the 4? Well, you want to talk about?
Where the hell did I get the 480? That's a good question.
That's what I was wondering, in relation to what we're going to talk about.
It was CEX, and it
Ah.
came boxed in the wrong box.
Oh,
It's an Asus card that came in a Gigabyte box.
that's weird.
But it's a Gigabyte box with the Gigabyte manual and all the original cables and everything, with an Asus card in it.
Huh. What do you
Really,
know?
we can talk about that. That was really fucking confusing. I remember when I was like, oh no, Gigabyte card. And I was like, oh, it'll probably be a reference cooler, and then saw Asus on the front and went, oh.
Oh.
Yep, it's on that grill thing they put on the front of these so you can fry an egg with it.
Yes. I wish
Really
I'd got the that GTX 560 Ti.
That would have been quite cool.
Yeah. Well, the next thing I was watching was a faulty R9 290,
Ooh.
but it
You
was
can
it
flash
said
the
that.
BIOS on those really
Well,
easy.
that's what I thought, but that one went for a bit more than I was thinking of in the end. But
I'm thinking
the
about
description
getting
was that it was working for 45 minutes, and then it would cut out, and then you turn the computer on, and it would work for 45 minutes, and then it would cut out, and I was like, that's an interesting problem.
That sounds a little bit like the 7950.
Ah. Yes, well, yeah, it does in a way.
How is that? Are you still using that? or
I've
have
not
you
I've not
swapped it
had
out
that
again?
machine on much, but like I say, I've not seen it falter once since it's been in that machine, so
Such a weird
interesting.
problem.
As we discussed in the first episode, maybe link here, I'm currently running an EVGA GTX 960 with 4 gigs of dedicated memory, and we were wondering whether that will hold its own against the older, but slightly more high-end at the
yeah.
time, HD 7950, is it?
Yes.
'Cause
It was
that's
the
the other
second
card that I've
most
got here in a
powerful
different machine.
AMD. It was the second most powerful AMD card of its time, because it was the 7970 was the fastest single GPU card. I think it was
Yes.
the 7990 that was a dual GPU SLI Crossfire card. Did they even release that? I'm not sure. I don't want to type because my keyboard is right next to the mic and I'll kill everyone.
Your keyboard is the mic at this point.
I mean, yeah. I'm just shouting onto a membrane keyboard and hoping the membrane like absorbs the magic. So if you can hear me, I'm actually doing magic right now. Pretty wizard.
Pretty wizard.
That battle will be on the channel at some point.
Yes, we are going to do a video comparing the two. Because it's interesting, because the lowest clock that I had on the 960 is only 50 points higher than the 7950 on its highest clock. Which doesn't sound like... That sounds like, oh, well, the 7950 is obviously going to fail. However, that was dragged down by the physics result from the Intel Core 2 Quad QA400.
Because I remember it was kicking the crap quite handily out of the 680, the GTX 680 I've got.
Right.
So, and that was punching against the 960
The
quite
960,
happily.
yeah,
So
exactly. So we basically just need to get them in the same machine. I mean, get them in this with the same processors to do some accurate benchmarks, which we'll do in a Techsperiment video in the future.
I think I should try and do a rundown of all my cards. Again, because I've got this bench set up, I could just swap everything in, have
Today,
a big
in
graph of the GPU rundown, and just have that as
You
a
should
video.
do it like
of
a
me.
roster rundown.
Yeah.
Like, no queue.
Rapid roster rundown.
In
the
blue
flamethrower.
corner, we have the 480, known as the flamethrower. In the red corner.
There's the 5870, because in AMD naming was a bit weird. I know.
It's like trying to remember a PIN number. Or a phone number at this
See,
rate.
that's the thing. I don't have to worry about remembering PIN numbers because I can remember 4-digit codes really fucking easy from all this fucking computer shit. It's like 7770 or like 3570K or the 8320, 8350.
See,
It's all
one of those
numbers.
should just be... Well, they should be all your bin codes.
Oh god. I don't think any of them are. But the internet's not the best place to discuss that sort of thing.
No, exactly. So hopefully they're not.
Anyway, today's episode was supposed to be about...
on topic.
Yes, get back to topic, damn it.
We're so good at staying
PC
on topic.
building in England and the resources that are available to us British folk
Yes.
who
So,
love computers.
in terms of second-hand building, because if you're looking for lower budget, and then you're obviously going to go second-hand, because
like us,
new hardware is so expensive, regardless of where you are in the world, really, at the moment.
yeah, it's difficult to, especially with all the fiddly tricks Intel's playing, and I don't know, availability on AMD sometimes is a bit difficult.
Yeah.
They seem to sell out relatively quickly, which is a good thing for AMD, but an issue for us. But again, it's the thing of we have the tax, don't we, 20% tax on computers in England because they're classified as a luxury good.
Oh, right, I didn't know that.
Well, they have the 20% sales
And is that on
tax
new
them.
components?
That's on everything.
Right.
It's probably why Windows is so bastard expensive.
Yes. That is one of the most expensive parts of building a computer.
Buying new is quite difficult, and buying used is quite difficult too, so sometimes the best bet is eBay, which we've had several components from over the years, so should we go through a few bits and bobs, Harry?
Yes.
Some
So,
bits of good news and bad dealings we've had.
yes.
The
Well,
good, the bad.
to move away from the graphics card side of it for a bit, we did purchase your i5 3570K from eBay for £90.
Yes, that was it, wasn't it?
Which is, I will now, with all of the preparation in the world, get up a price of a new... well, you can't, I don't know if you can get them new, but a newer...
Probably not. Fresh, maybe an unopened carton, but
Yeah.
it's probably been bashed around for a few years.
Oh, I'm going to have
It's
some...
like that
typing sounds for everyone as well.
8350 I've got was an unopened carton, but the thing had been knocked around a warehouse for a few years.
So, if you're looking for a 3570K that is like new, refurbished, it's been tested and fully working, you're looking at £149.
So we did pretty well on that eBay purchase, I think.
Actually, if you want a more accurate one, unboxed but in full... Oh no, that's unboxed. I thought that said boxed. I just can't read. Well, that one's 200 anyway. And then someone's trying to sell a new one. So there is new ones out there for 464.
That's not even vaguely relevant for
That's
the
not
price
even
of...
slightly
Jesus.
competitive in terms of what you could get for that money.
Your price to performance, you may as well just buy a Ryzen at that point.
Well, to
or-
top it
or
all off,
whatever,
there's actually
sell
one for 516.
People are idiots. I think that's what we
No
can
one's
learn from
going to
eBay
buy
sometimes.
This is on Amazon by someone called Select Elite. Select Elite? You're not
Oh,
going
there's
to
a
sell
chap
that
on
processor.
Amazon I've bought quite a few CPUs from before. I think they were called just CPU only or something like that, and they literally just sell CPUs
on
of
eBay?
various different types. Amazon.
Oh, right. Well,
It was
we'll
actually pretty good.
stick with the eBay. I'm trying to find the purchase record of because I purchased the i5 370K and then we did the whole swappage, which you can hear more about in the first episode.
I think I bidded on and bought the R9 270 on eBay. I think in the end. That's why I got a box one. It was my first time bidding and I got it for quite cheap, I believe.
Do you know how much you paid for that?
I think...
We're so prepared for this.
Yeah, this is really well prepared. We could have gotten loads of stuff up and gotten this actually... No.
Nope.
No, not at all.
For some reason, mine's only going back as far as this last year.
Oh, weird.
Okay, so... Oh, I got my Vita from eBay. That's not computer related, but it's still very tech related. I got
Vita's
my
nice.
second-hand PS Vita for £69 on eBay.
I think I
That's a
paid
4 gig
65
model. That's the
for mine.
original version, the one that's slightly thicker but doesn't overheat as much.
Yeah, I got mine off CEX's website actually for 65, I think, but it was a good couple years later.
Yes, it was a little bit later, wasn't it? So the Intel quad-core i5 370K, 3.4 gigahertz, overclockable, was £85.95 from someone called MI Jones 381994. And that was February 2017, so we're just coming up to 2 years ago.
Crikey.
So that was 2 years ago, and that was second hand. And then if you look at, like I said, on the prices on Amazon now, they're still higher, even though it's an older chip.
Very good purchase, really.
I
think it was a very good purchase, that one. We sort of picked it up at exactly the right time.
It was.
When everyone was starting to bail away from 1155 socket.
Exactly, and you need to look for these opportune moments in PC building, because it comes to a point when something is near end of life. It's either going to get more popular because it was a classic kind of very solid piece of kit, or it's something that it's just old enough for people to start upgrading to newer generations.
It's like most recently the 700 series Nvidia cards have started to drop in price because people are finally ditching their 780 Ti to move to 10 or 20 series cards.
Exactly, and
it's finally sort of viable for them. Again, you want to get the most out of your card, so if you buy high end, you want it to last a few years.
So people people even with 680s will have only just started getting rid of them last year.
That's why
because of the older
mine.
architecture. Yeah, and that's when Richard bought his 680. You're noticing a pattern.
For 75, which was not half bad, to be honest. They have gone down since then, though, which is a bit of a shame. But again, like, I bought it myself because I wanted it, and it was shiny. I may have an issue. I may have a problem with that. I keep going into my local CEX and going, ooh, shiny. Mustn't do that anymore. Must stop. Yeah. But so eBay is a really brilliant tool for, again, I'm guessing almost everyone knows that eBay is the place to go if you're looking for something very odd and specific that somebody somewhere will probably have that you quite need.
Well, yeah, exactly, because when I was doing my laptop repairs, the first video on this channel, when I was replacing the motherboard in my Sony Vaio laptop, I knew that the only place I could get the very specific motherboard model that I needed was from eBay, and that there's a link in the description of that video to look at their website. They sell quite a lot of motherboards for laptops and processors for laptops, mainly laptop stuff, I think, but I also needed another heatsink, because if you remember, heatsink that came with my original motherboard that broke in my laptop was not designed to have a dedicated graphics chip, so I had to search. Exactly. I needed one with two. I needed one that had a longer heat pipe that had two places to it. Yeah, 2 heat spreaders. That's it. So I looked on eBay and I found, I think there was 2. One was really expensive and in some place across the other side of the world, which is often a problem with eBay. But at least there's something on there. You wouldn't find it anywhere else. And then luckily I found one that was only down south, I think it was, which got sent up for a lot cheaper.
Again, eBay's pretty universal, no matter if you're in the UK or not. And again, if you're even slightly remotely interested in tech, there's always a good idea of just click on the PC part of eBay and just start scrolling, and you'll come across something that tickles your fancy. I remember I would scroll through there right at the beginning before I had all this stuff, and just look for Dell pre-builts, because you never know when someone's putting an ancient old machine on there for no money just because they don't want it in their spare room anymore.
Exactly, there's a lot of Dell Optiplexes and things on there that just go for
like £20-30, and there's still pretty good stuff in them, so you could even do a thing of buying one, stripping it down, selling off the parts, and doing it that way.
More for the RAM, and even if it's DDR3 these days, you'll probably make money there.
Again, professional breakers would probably be better, but again, you can make a little bit of money on there, because I remember I was thinking about doing it that way, and then I just started giving them away because I'm an idiot. But but yeah, eBay is a source of these sorts of
Yeah.
things, and we've had a lot of good deals out of eBay, like that i5, and your motherboard came very promptly, which was nice.
My motherboard, that was a very good buy, yeah. And also my latest motherboard I completely forgot for my main PC came from eBay. That was £53 for an Asus P8 P67 Pro 1155 socket motherboard. And that was also a good purchase. I've not had any problems with it really.
There's a lot of good stuff on there.
Later on in 2018, I got a GTX 750 Ti from eBay for £57. Like you said, that was when everyone was throwing out the 700 series, but also it was very good condition, fully boxed.
Yeah, with all the
very nice and shiny. It could have been new for £57.
It's surprising the deals you can get on there, especially when there's a new generation technology. Again, Nvidia announces something and people just drop their stuff sometimes. Again, I don't really know how they can afford it.
Yeah.
I certainly can't. But yeah, I think that's more of a universal place. But specifically to England, we have CEX.
Yes, because eBay is the only eBay. We have to deal with eBay instead of having eBay and Craigslist. We just have eBay.
There's no real Craigslist over here. There's Gumtree, but I've never used it, and it can be a little troubling because you usually have to pick things up in person, and that can be difficult and or slightly dangerous even, depending on where you live.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with
CEX,
eBay,
I guess.
eBay gone to CEX. I mean,
Yep.
I've had tremendous stuff with CEX, and I love it as a company because their whole thing is recycling, essentially. You go over there and you take your old games, your old phone or whatever, and you can get a little bit of money for it. Or them. And they're usually stocked with good quality graphics cards, nice and well looked after mostly. I've only had one dog in my day. The GTX 275 or 265 I bought from CX because it was a beef and I've never seen a 200 series before.
Yeah.
Ended up being a bit of a dog and it exploded a little bit.
It's an old card though.
But it was very old and it was a bit dusty, to be honest. And I could never get the cooler off to clean it. It was like it was welded shut or something, like someone had hot glued it. It was very odd. But again, most of my purchases in this room are from CX because I bought one thing and was very pleased with their service and their pricing is tremendous. Because sometimes you'll find something on eBay and then you'll have a look on CX's website and it'll be maybe £5 cheaper or maybe £10 cheaper or something, and then you've got the guarantee because they have a 1-year warranty on all electrical goods.
Exactly, that is important. If much as we praised eBay, if you are looking for something specific, so you're not looking for a general, I need a motherboard for this socket. If you're looking for a very specific item and you're looking on eBay, it's always best to check that you're not about to pay more than you would pay for CEX, because CEX is generally
Very competitive.
a safer option.
And yeah, they tend to be...
You're more assured of getting something that's 100% quality than you are on eBay.
It's like this entire build almost completely is from CEX.
You should just call it the CEX build.
I should really, although a lot of bits of it came from different places. My first AM3 Plus socket came from Amazon. It was a warehouse deal. You know how they have those sort of things that never sold back in the day stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then the processor came from, I think it was CEX or it was eBay because it was boxed. I'm not 100% certain, but the graphics card came from CEX or eBay. No, it was a CEX find, the 480, I think, actually. Thinking about it. Yeah. But again,
you can see a pattern emerging of CEX, eBay, CEX, eBay.
Yeah. This room is full of treasures found from places we've discussed.
That's what we're saying, is that there isn't really much else out there for used,
especially in England,
PC parts.
There's some breakers and things. Like I wish we had a free gig, like they do in Canada, because that place is fantastic. It's sort of what CEX does, except more hands-on.
Because it's like CEX still have to adhere to sort of being more of a shop. I don't know. It seems more
It's a proper big company, CX. So they have
Yeah.
a headquarters and they have little shops and things.
Which is good
But
that
you-
they have branches so like distributed. If you're looking to get into computing, you've never even been in a CX, I guarantee there'll be one in the nearest sort of city to you, the nearest
and it
sort
will
of
be
city
crammed
centre.
full of very good deals and very interesting bits and bobs. Even if you just want to have a look, I'm sure that if you've never held a graphics card before or you have an interest, the people behind the desk are usually very helpful.
They are.
Again, I
usually
feel
good.
like I'm shilling for them now. This is an issue,
Yeah.
but I've always had a good laugh with people at CEX because they know my plight as a very cheap PC builder, and the chaps in the CEX in Huddersfield here know me quite well because I come in
So you're
very
in there
often
every
with
day.
very, very weird requests of like, do you have this very weird specific type of power connector from 1982, or do you have this processor for this motherboard that hasn't been in circulation for 15 years, and the usual kind of nonsensical stuff I come in with, and they tend to find it pretty quickly. Or
And
they
also,
refer me to the website.
if it's your local place and you get to know them, then they can keep an eye out for things coming in, and then they might think, oh, this guy. They might even put it to one side for you.
I have asked for that occasionally, and they have done so.
Yeah.
Because I had a... Well, here's a perfect CEX story, actually. It was about the 680, actually. I
Right.
purchased a GTX 680 off of CEX's website. Beginning of last year, I think it was. Just because I had never had a 680 before. My first graphics card was a 650. I wanted to know how the big boys felt back in the day. Because I remember being extremely jealous and coveting my friend's 680, thinking, oh my god, that's so much power. Feels a bit silly now, it's just on my shelf. But
But it's,
But I
it's
was-
the
I was
fact
very
that it was the
interested.
same generation as what you had originally.
yeah, it's like the big boy. I remember scrolling through when I was building my computer and seeing it and thinking, I'm never going to be able to afford one of them. So I scrolled in again. I was looking through their website one day and I hit sod it and clicked purchase, and it arrived maybe a week later. I think it was a few days later, perhaps. But it was between a few days and a week maximum. Again, the turnover time was very quick.
Yeah.
And put the card on my test bench and had horrible artifacting. Like blue screen errors and artifacting, and again little flashing checkers and all sorts. The card was not happy. It was not running properly. I managed to get it stable, but with a humongous underclock, I think of 500 megahertz or something, and I had to undervolt it really substantially to get it to not artifact. So there was something wrong with the core.
Something very wrong.
Very wrong with either the core or the memory. Something had happened maybe in transit, I wasn't certain. So I took it in to my local CEX and went, hey, there's some problems with this. Would I be able to return it? And he's like, oh, okay, what sort of issue have you got? Well, I explained in full the issue that I was having, the full hardware diagnosis. Again, like, I'm not a noob at tech, so I knew what I was talking about, so I gave them a good lowdown. They went, right, okay, I'll pop a note on it with all of your symptoms, and we'll do your refund right away. It's like, oh, crikey, okay. So he did me a refund right there and then. And
They're very good about that.
There was no, oh, you sure, I want to see your proof of purchase and all that stuff. They were like, oh, right, okay. I mean, they did ask for, well, it was an online purchase, so I brought in the shipping invoice thing.
Yeah.
And, yeah, they had a quick look through that and said all was good, so I sent that away, and when I got home, checked, and yep, the money was in my account, so I bought another one off of their website, actually, because I still wanted a 680, really. Probably shouldn't have. It was a bad idea monetarily for me at that point, but... And this one came, my EVGA one, that was I think it was a Gigabyte one that went first, or an MSI one. MSI, because it had an afterburn sticker
It's
on
like
it.
a sign that you shouldn't have one, but you turn around and got another one anyway.
Yeah. It's still one of my favourite cards now.
Yeah.
It's up there. It's one of the cards that's on the test bench most. I think it's just because it's quite nice to use.
Maybe it'll be on Richard's test bench feature.
Yeah. And one day you'll hear, oh, it's the 680.
Yep.
But, yeah, so that's all my 680 story. But, again, they were very happy to replace or refund me.
Yeah.
And they didn't have one in stock in the shop that day, but if they did, I reckon they would have just straight up replaced it.
Well, yeah, because I had a similar situation where I was upgrading my RAM for this computer, and I wanted an 8 gig stick of DDR3 1600 megahertz, to match the other stick that I had, because if you didn't know, it's better to have them running at the same speed, and if you can, the same set, but if you're going for a cheaper, more CEX based build, that's not necessarily an option. But so I went to the website on CEX. CEX is a really good place to go for RAM, because RAM is generally very expensive, but they've got some good prices on there.
Also, they have it all laid out really well. They have speed and capacity shown straight on the page, so you don't have to dig through a little subsection to find out what speed it's running at, and how much, and everything. Yeah. It's really good. Yeah, they know what they're doing there.
So I went on the website because it wasn't showing that there was any in my local CEX at the time. So I went on the website and ordered it, one 8 gig stick of DDR3, and then when it came a few days later, I mean, you do have to pay $150 postage, but they are normally packaged quite well.
Yeah, I forgot to say about that. But
you have to think that it is only part of their business. They are a shop at the sort of forefront. And that's why they have to pay for the postage, I would expect.
Well, again, it's like a case of you still have to pay for postage on Amazon and eBay and things like that.
Exactly.
So having a standard price, because that was the same price I paid to have my 680
Well, yeah, I think it's $150 for everything.
Yeah,
so
and if you buy something of a certain price or higher, it's free.
Yes, I think it's £30 or something.
Something. No, because
it must be more than that. Yeah.
I think it's 70 or 80.
Right.
Because the 780 Ti I was looking at would have free postage.
Right.
But again, the 680 was packaged extremely well. It was a hardy box, duct taped up very well, full of bubble wrap, and the card itself was inside an anti-static bag.
It's because they know what they're doing, so they don't mess about in terms of securing that they're safe. Whereas if you order something on eBay, you're slightly at more risk of them just putting it in a jiffy bag and chucking it in the back of a van. But, that's why you've got to look at the reviews of a seller on eBay and look at things like that and what people have said in the past about them. Anyway, back to the memory thing. So when it arrived, a few days later, I had 2 sticks of 8 gig DDR3 in the package. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting, that's fun. I was like, well, if they've chosen to send me 2, I'm not going to complain. So I'd paid for 1 gig of 8 one stick, I keep getting those mixed up. 1 stick of 8 gig of DDR3. So I put them both in my computer. I think I just shoved them both in at first. I was like, great, got a free stick of RAM, and you don't complain about that these days. So, and then my computer didn't boot. And I was like, great. So I took one of them out, I think. And then I took all the RAM out and just had 1 stick of the new stuff in, and it still didn't boot. And I was like, what on earth is going on? It was really strange. So, well, we were both a bit perplexed with it at first, weren't we?
Yeah, I remember. It was really weird.
It was very... Because CEX do test all their products very thoroughly, so you wouldn't expect something to come and just not be working. And as we said, they put the anti-static bag and everything. It couldn't really have got damaged in transit very easily. So eventually, a few days later, after sort of brainstorming and testing and nothing working, Richard just said, hang on a minute, it might be ECC memory. And I was like, what?
Oh, yes, I remember I remember the story a lot better now. It might have been ECC server RAM, which isn't supported on standard home motherboards.
So I researched it, and if you look at the number of chips on the actual PCB, which you can't on all of them if they've got a heat spreader, but if it's ECC memory, it probably doesn't anyway. The number of actual chips dictates what is the one way to really tell what kind of memory it is. So this had loads of small chips, 2 rows of them. I can't remember how many it had, but it was a lot. And that was something that I never really just even thought about, because I didn't know about it at the time. And that's one of the, it was a good sort of learning moment in terms of PC building about ECC memory. But long story short, it wasn't.
I remember having the brainwave of just like, oh bollocks, it's ECC. And then I messaged you, it's like,
oh, well, obviously. It was such a shock at the time. So like you said, they're very good about returning things. So I took it to the branch in Manchester when I was on my way back from uni one day or something. And I was like, I think it's ECC memory. See, I still couldn't be 100% sure. But even then, they were very good about it. And he was like, right. And see, they are quite informed in there, but that is sort of very high up knowledge, really.
It's probably a relatively
rare thing to know about.
Uncommon issue, and then
Yeah, so he took it in the back. So he said, "Oh, I'll go and ask such and such. They know more about RAM."
Yeah, they've
And
always
they
got at
agreed.
least somebody in there who knows what they're talking.
Well, exactly. They looked at it and went, "Oh yeah, it's ECC memory." Now the thing is that the person who originally took it and accepted it for sale may not have known that, and presumably didn't know that, because he actually turned back to me and said, "We don't sell server memory in this store because it's not a wholesale. It's not for companies. It's for commercial. They don't actually sell it." So he's like, So I felt a bit bad at that point because I realised I was giving them something back, asking for a refund that they couldn't actually sell ever. But they were very good about it, and he gave me the refund there and then. And I said, "Oh, do you have any non-ECC memory?" And because my local store's in Stockport, but I was in the Manchester one, which is a bit bigger. And he said, "Oh yes, we've got some," and it happened to be the right speed and the same brand.
Oh, tremendous!
So I've actually, in my system, they're both Crucial, and they're both 1600 megahertz, and they were both from CEX in the end.
Yeah.
So that I ended up with a matching pair, which won't always happen, but having the right speed is quite important. But that's why it's good that. So they just refunded me, and I bought the other one.
They are very good about that.
They are good.
I was just thinking with the mistake on them sending the wrong thing. Well, I've had that, but actually to a very large advantage. Because my 750 Ti that I purchased for a LAN PC I was building, so I could go around to my mate's house and just take this old Dell Optiplex with a 750 Ti sticking out the side of it because I couldn't find a low-profile one.
Oh, yeah.
So I just bought one off of their website. I was just like, look, I need a card. It's a 750 Ti. It'll work in everything. You don't need an external power connector, and it'll be fine. It's like, okay, so I bought it, and I bought a 1 gig model because I think it was £5 or £10 cheaper or something like that.
Oh, right.
To buy a 1 gig model and a 2 gig model. So I was like, okay, well, it's only going to be in a LAN build. It doesn't matter that it's only 1 gig. I'm not going to be playing that much. I'm going to be playing Civ and, co-op stuff that you can do with mates. So it'd be like Star Wars Battlefront 2 Classic, 2005 one, and
which we still like to play, and we'll definitely cover at some point.
Left 4 Dead 2, bits like that. And so when it came, I checked on the back. It's this exact code, actually. I'll go grab it. Here we go. And I looked.
I love how little time there was between "I'll go grab it" and then "here we go." It's like it was. That's just so. It must have been so close to you.
It's right there. But yeah, I looked on the back, and it's a pallet sort of reference-y card. Again, pallet don't really do much to their coolers. It's just a block of aluminium on top of the core with a fan stuck on top of it, so
Yeah.
But I looked on the back and it said the GTX 750 Ti Storm X OC 2048M GDDR5. I was like, wait, hold on. 2048M, so that's 2048 megabytes of memory. Well, that's 2 gig. That's 2 gig of VRAM. So I pulled the cooler apart, because I always do when I get a new card. I pull it apart, check the thermal paste. It's the usual stuff. I think we should have a guide on general GPU maintenance go up at some point.
Yeah, we'll definitely do one for replacing thermal paste on a graphics card. Yeah.
Just because it's good practice
it's
to
difficult
when you
to
get a
show
new
though,
card,
because it's different on every
used.
card, but we can give a good list of do's and don'ts.
Yeah,
and probably most of the don'ts that we do, we can recommend not to do.
Do not rest a can of Coke on your graphics card. So I picked up this card for a lot cheaper, and it was a 2 gig model. And I was really surprised, and
this isn't necessarily a permanent benefit of CEX, but it's an occasional benefit.
Well, the thing is that now, when I'm aiming to sell this 750 Ti, which I probably will at some point soon, I think, because I don't really have a need for it anymore. The LAN PC has gone to different needs now.
Yeah.
And is getting a little long in the tooth for most games, including base titles. I'm thinking, and I got a low profile card for it, so it actually has a card that fits the case now. So I'm thinking of selling this, and then I thought about it, because this 2 gig model will resell higher than the 1 gig.
Even though it's been a few years. Well, like I said, I've got the 2 gig 750 Ti that I got off eBay for 57, did I say?
And I think I bought this for 35.
Wow.
It's a 1 gig model.
It was a lot cheaper because of the
And it was a while ago when they were actually selling for quite cheap.
Yeah. So presumably you'll be able to sell that for at least sort of At least 50, and that's a £20 profit.
And that's pretty good. So again, CX has done me a solid on that one. So it's one of those things, you pass it forward.
Yeah.
It's like they've done me good, so I'm quite happy to buy things from them in the long run. I just popped it back.
Well, did your i5, your original i5, come from CX, as we saw?
Yes, that was the initial pass it forward.
Yeah.
Was they helped me out when I was a poor,
that's an even bigger thing,
PC enthusiast, and once again they've helped me out when I got a bit more about me. But,
well, so if you want to go and check that out, that was in the first episode. But long story short, you got an i5 3570, which would have been worth at least 120, maybe more, for 20 quid.
Yep, it was misbadged in the shop. This was a long time ago.
Wasn't it?
This was when CEX, I didn't really know what to make of. It was one of those things that had just appeared in town.
Because if you just go to the store, admittedly, you are a bit uncertain at first, because there's a lot of shops that look like them that
especially
are a
in
bit dodgy.
Stockport way.
Especially in Stockport, yeah. But the thing is, you've got to remember is that CEX is a branch of a big company. So it's not the same as a single store that might sell you something
It feels decidedly
dodgy.
less like a money laundering scheme
Yes,
than
exactly.
most of the
Than
stores.
the nearest tech sale or whatever it is.
It's just like there's a chap in there and he's got a lot of slightly sketchy iPhones and a dodgy laptop that looks like it's probably come from somebody's bedroom.
CEX is not that, because they check everything. They've got a very rigorous
The warranty
policy.
is the thing that always makes me very happy.
Yes, the warranty is the thing that I always forget about, but yeah.
I always forget about it until about a week after and like, oh, sod.
Yeah.
It's like I completely spaced on taking that 265 back. Because I thought I could get it working, and then I got busy and just left it. But I could have very definitely taken it back and gone, this don't work.
Exactly, yeah. They would be very good about that.
But anyway. Yeah, so CX has always been very good to me as a PC enthusiast in the United Kingdom.
And I was just going to say, on the whole Gumtree thing that you briefly mentioned, someone is selling this card here, which I've just got an example, and this is why you might be better off with eBay, where you can see the ratings of sellers very clearly, and that's a very sort of nationally accepted thing, or CEX, where they've got their good sort of
the good selling practices.
Yes,
you know.
That's it. Yeah. So this guy's got a HD 4870, which is not a very modern card.
Yeah, no, that's
not a very powerful card.
I think that's what, Terascale 2 even architecture? Maybe not even Terascale, maybe Terascale 1. Well, again, it's one of those very ancient architectures.
Because have you got a 4000 series or not?
I've got a 5000 series, and that's really showing the length of its teeth.
So he's selling it on Gumtree, fair enough. It's used, he wants to get rid of it. But he said, great graphics card from my last computer. Works great. Open to offers. Now, so he's not trying to cheat people out of money. He's open to offers. However, if I was someone who didn't know much and just wanted a graphics card, the words great graphics card and works great would make me think that it would run modern games. Well, it would, maybe I wouldn't think it was the most high-end thing in the world because I know that it's open to offers and everything, but you wouldn't necessarily know that it's not going to be able to run even basic new titles, and anything that's older than a few years, anything that's newer than a few years old isn't going to run very smoothly at all. So that's something that you have to look out for, and if you're not looking for something specific, but you're looking around, look up the specs. It's as simple as that, and look up reviews, and whether we've got reviews on things by then maybe that'll help.
Well, I think
something like that could catch you out quite easily.
Definitely.
Well, so hope you found this quite useful. This was more of a consumer advice episode than a discussion episode.
Yeah, it was less about us and our machines and more about our. Well, no, it was still about us because it's about
our machines
ties to certain companies in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, exactly. So if you live in the UK, which I don't imagine anyone not living in the UK is listening to this, but then it'll be very relevant to you.
Exceptionally British.
Yes, and next week we'll probably be focusing more on a subject like we did in episode 2.
Yeah, something a bit more big
And we'll do more
chunky.
research.
And we will actually have research.
I say
and
that
I will
now.
have my computer do more than just make my room warm.
Yes.
I'll have a slightly less completely redundant.
We'll find out what will be on
graphics card.
Richard's test bench next week.
What's on my bench? It's probably a piece of crap.
It can be the theme tune.
Oh,
Yes, so thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Subscribe if you're interested in this kind of thing. We're going to be doing a lot more videos. We've not even done a Tech Experiments video yet.
No,
So that
we
will
will
be
get
fun.
round to one.
We will do it.
I will
And,
find a cameraman and I will whip them until they function as a cameraman does. I don't even know what
Yes.
a cameraman does. Just hold my iPhone and make me look clever.
Pretty much. So
Oh God, I
we
don't even have a
we'll be
camera.
doing that soon. And if you're interested in that, you won't see it if you don't subscribe. So you best do that thing.
Yeah, we will be on this probably quite often actually, because it's a nice break from uni being
Yes.
stressful.
It is very much so. So yeah, like this video if you found it useful, and comment if you have anything that from your experiences that would be interesting to know about eBay or CX or Gumtree if you've had an experience with them, because we haven't used them very much, and you might find that it is a good place to look for used parts. So thank you for listening, and
Thank you.
Goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me
I'll
too.
let Richard go and get his bus.
Yes, buses, public transport, good for the environment sort
Oh,
of.
we'll probably do what about public transport. It's not tech related though. We can try and make it tech related.
Tech on the
Bye.
bus, tech on the train, that'd be a good one. Alright.
That's a good title. Bye.
Okay, bye.